drop $1,000 on a piece of glass and titanium because the billboard promised an artificial intelligence revolution. You wait 2 years. The physical hardware degrades, and the artificial intelligence never shows up. Then the mail arrives, bearing a glorious settlement check for $25.
$250 million is the exact settlement fund Apple established to quiet the legal complaints regarding those unfulfilled promises. U.S. buyers who purchased an iPhone 15 Pro, an iPhone 15 Pro Max, a base iPhone 16, or anything else in that specific lineup between June 2024 and March 2025 are looking at a payout window of $25 to $95 per device.
Dropping a month's rent on a pocket supercomputer to boost your daily productivity, only to receive enough settlement cash 2 years later to buy a mediocre pepperoni pizza and a warm soda, is completely insulting. We are pulling 2 distinct sources together today. We have the Fox News report detailing the massive class action payout for failing to deliver Siri updates. We also have Macworld's leaked details on the upcoming iOS 27.
The Fox News report notes the lawsuit centers entirely on the discrepancy between marketing and reality. Apple promoted a smarter, context-aware Siri capable of understanding personal data and working natively across applications.
Our mission is to directly contrast Apple writing you an apology check for vaporware while simultaneously launching a massive marketing blitz demanding you trust them to finally deliver those exact features in the next update.
Apple secured the initial hardware sale based on those specific artificial intelligence claims. The features arrived incredibly late or failed to show up entirely. Apple legally denies any wrongdoing, maintaining they settled this case simply to avoid litigation costs and stay focused on upcoming products.
The technology sector is adopting a dangerous operational standard. They sell premium physical hardware today to fund the software they hope to invent tomorrow. It turns the retail consumer into a venture capitalist funding an experiment.
Consumers upgrade devices explicitly based on marketed capabilities. A missing software feature fundamentally alters the value proposition of the hardware. The device in your pocket is materially worth less than what you paid for it if the advertised artificial intelligence is absent.
The consumer takes on all the financial risk without receiving any of the equity. You purchase a device based on a keynote presentation featuring, like, a glowing orb that promises to organize your life, but you receive a waitlist notification instead.
Eligible device owners will soon receive an email or a physical notice containing instructions to file a claim for that equity refund. Consumers must remain vigilant against phishing scams. Official settlement administrators will never demand an Apple ID password or a bank login to process compensation.
The physical hardware depreciates the second you take it out of the box. Buying a phone for a software feature that ships 18 months later means you are running brand new software on a device with a degraded battery and a dated processor. You're paying premium prices for a, sort of, compromised experience.
Apple claims they settled this lawsuit to stay focused on upcoming products. That specific focus produced iOS 27. Macworld's reporting indicates internal pitch meetings at Apple are framing iOS 27 exclusively as a Snow Leopard update.
That phrase carries some heavy historical baggage for old-school Mac users. For anyone who was not formatting hard drives back in 2009, explain what a Snow Leopard update actually entails. What does that mean for a modern iPhone?
Apple charged $29 for a boxed CD in 2009 that explicitly promised 0 new visual features. Engineers dedicated the entire release cycle for Macintosh computers to clearing out dead code, optimizing processor performance, boosting battery life, and fixing lingering bugs.
They completely rewrote the primary interface from scratch.
They rewrote it to run natively on newer processors and stripped out legacy support for older architectures entirely. It stabilized the desktop platform for the next decade of development. Apple is applying that exact philosophy to the modern iPhone.
Calling iOS 27 routine performance update feels like
an aggressive corporate sleight of hand. They are quietly packing in the massive Siri overhaul promised years ago under the guise of system maintenance.
that is like a mechanic claiming your car needs a routine oil change and then secretly swapping out the entire engine block. They're using the boring reputation of a maintenance update as cover to finally deliver the artificial intelligence features that triggered the $250 million lawsuit in the first place.
The required architecture literally demands a complete teardown. The forthcoming Siri application introduces 4 major technical leaps. We are tracking complex conversation memory, deep world knowledge, third-party model extensions, and the ability to execute synthetic in-app actions. Integrating an advanced language model directly into the operating system requires massive computational resources.
Break that hardware limitation down for me. Why does putting a smarter voice assistant on a phone require tearing out the foundation of the operating system?
Modern smartphones utilize unified memory architecture. The main processor, the graphics chip, the neural engine, and the secure enclave all pull from the exact same pool of active RAM. Operating systems maintain strict resource budgets. Running generative models locally on a mobile processor devours active memory.
So if your device has, say, 8 gigabytes of memory, the background processes of the operating system might constantly reserve 5 gigabytes just to keep your widgets refreshing and your notifications firing.
A localized artificial intelligence model requires holding billions of parameters in active memory to generate responses without communicating with a remote server. If you bolt those 4 new Siri capabilities onto the cluttered codebase of iOS 26, the neural engine starves.
The phone literally runs out of room to think.
The device begins paging data to the physical storage drive. That creates severe thermal throttling. The phone overheats and the battery drains in a matter of hours. The Snow Leopard approach is a pure technical necessity.
You have to strip the house down to the studs before you can install a supercomputer in the living room.
The operating system has accumulated 17 years of background daemons and legacy code since the original iPhone launched. Removing that outdated programming creates the necessary computational overhead for the neural engine to actually breathe.
The operating system cleanup pushes far past background code and voice assistants. Core applications are receiving generative tools alongside the memory optimization. The native Photos application introduces 4 new generative tools to the existing editing suite. Users get Enhance, Extend, Reframe, and Relight features.
The Extend feature relies on local inpainting. The neural engine analyzes the edge vectors of your photograph and hallucinates entirely new pixels outside the original frame.
The phone is essentially drawing new scenery based on what it thinks should be there.
The tool operates locally on the device, relying on the newly optimized codebase to process complex tasks without communicating with a remote server. We are seeing system-wide integration of functional automation.
The Health app delivers tailored fitness analyses based on your biometric data. The keyboard introduces grammatical typing assistance that corrects tone and structure in real time.
The Wallet app permits users to build and store custom passes without relying on third-party software. The Voice Memos app generates structured transcripts instantly. These tools represent a shift from flashy gimmicks to practical utility.
That practical utility crashes headfirst into the liquid glass interface introduced in iOS 26. Apple forced a fluid, translucent design onto every menu, toggle, navigation bar, and widget box. Users despised it. The translucency caused severe text legibility issues across the entire system.
Translucency in user interfaces destroys contrast on a mathematical level. When you place crisp text over a shifting, translucent background, the graphics processing unit must calculate a Gaussian blur in real time. If you are watching a video behind a translucent menu pane, the micro-contrast behind the letters changes 60 times per second.
Forcing your eye to track static text against a background that is, dynamically blurring and shifting every second increases cognitive load. The human eye has to constantly refocus just to read a simple text message.
The fovea naturally seeks out high-contrast edges to parse information. Forcing visual tracking across a dynamically blurred background triggers immediate physical eye strain. Apple prioritized a futuristic, fluid aesthetic over basic human factors engineering.
They added minor tweaks in iOS 26.1, 26.2 to try and fix it, but Macworld indicates iOS 27 will include a universal slider to adjust or entirely kill the liquid glass effect system-wide. Giving users a global slider to disable your flagship interface design is a massive admission of defeat.
Corporate design teams often fall victim to their own isolated testing environments. They review these interfaces on massive, perfectly calibrated studio monitors in optimal lighting conditions.
You do not see a world-class chef giving you a dial at the table to reduce the amount of sand in your soup. A technology company should not ship a primary interface requiring a manual override just to become readable.
The end user is trying to read a translucent text notification on a glaring screen while walking under direct sunlight. The universal slider in iOS 27 is the direct result of millions of beta testers and regular consumers rejecting the friction introduced by liquid glass. It represents a rare moment where user utility actually forces a retreat on corporate branding. Legibility must always dictate design architecture.
The corporate maneuvering we are seeing today is staggering. Apple is actively mailing out legal settlement checks for selling artificial intelligence features that failed to materialize. They were simultaneously running a massive marketing campaign asking you to trust that iOS 27 will finally bring those exact features to your device.
The settlement forces a reevaluation of technology consumption. The next time you encounter a coming soon feature attached to a premium device, evaluate your purchase carefully. Determine whether you are purchasing a finished product or functioning as a venture capitalist funding an experiment.
They are charging you for the promise, penalizing themselves for the delay, and charging you again for the eventual delivery.
The marketing material will always present future software as a guaranteed reality. The legal settlement proves that reality is highly flexible. Consumers hold the power to demand finished products at the point of sale by refusing to upgrade based on speculative futures.
If technology giants insist on selling physical hardware based entirely on future software promises, consumer protection laws need an upgrade. Hardware warranties must be legally tethered to software delivery dates. Force companies to buy the phone back at full price if the artificial intelligence never shows up. Catch you on the next Deep Dive.